Hello and welcome to the May 2024 BigFix Briefing Room. My name is Michelle McGough and I'm here with Joe Saylor. And let's review what we're going to reveal today. We'll start out with the Microsoft Zero Days and Criticals. Then we'll go into Black Basta's sneaky strategies. We'll review as a zero day for tunnel vision. Surprise, Chrome's on the menu. We'll talk about CISA KEV, and there's another big fix release that we're happy to tell you about. Joe, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so by the numbers, this month's Patch Tuesday has closed 61 CVEs. You'll note that that's a welcome reduction from last month's like million CVEs from the ODBC apocalypse that we all had to deal with. So it's a much more normal number. 60 is pretty average, I think, for a regular old Patch Tuesday. We do have 2 actively exploited 0 days. We got 1 crit. We have about 300 fixlets in our patches for Windows site, and 1 great big old SharePoint frowny face to share with you today.
That's right. So we're going to start out with 30040. This is the MS-HTML platform security feature bypass vulnerability. Do you want to break this one down for us, Joe?
Yeah, so this one is just a vulnerability in Office and Office 365 that enables a remote code execution in the user's security context. So this means that an attacker has to like trick a user into opening a file or just really manipulating it in any way in Office 365. So it's a little less serious than, or sorry, a little less effort is required, I guess, for the attacker to get a user to open it up. It is in the user's context, so if you've been practicing good hygiene with your user privileges, it's not quite as serious. A regular user doesn't have rights to do anything administrative-like on their boxes, and so it's not quite as serious in that regard.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Let's go into 30051. I know this one. I think it was leveraged with CACBot, and so I'm curious what you know about this.
Yeah, our good friend CACBot, the venerable entry point that has been used by attackers like worldwide for, I don't know, I think it's a whole generation now, like literally a whole generation. This thing's been around since 2007, and they wasted no time integrating this vulnerability into their attack package. So this is really just a plain elevation of privileges. So anything that can already execute code locally, conveniently, just like the vulnerability we just talked about, where attackers can execute stuff in the user context. This allows them to then elevate that user context execution to system context and do much scarier stuff to the local box.
Got it.
And of course, these are 0 days with active code exploits out in the wild right now. So that even though it doesn't have that like extremely scary zero-touch entry point, because there is existing code, that makes these quite a lot more important to resolve.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joe. I think next is 30044, and I saw Satnam nodding at Tenable had done an analysis on this in addition to a lot of others. This one looks pretty serious. What's the story on this?
Yeah, so once exploited, this does allow an attacker to basically do anything that the SharePoint server could do. So from the SharePoint server's context, whatever rights it has, which are probably pretty monstrously high in your environment, SharePoint's very pervasive where it's installed. It could do anything, compromise just about anything that SharePoint server can see. So once exploited is very scary. It's like this is the 10 magnitude earthquake, right? That destroys everything once every 500,000 years. It is, however, very difficult to exploit. So it requires that an account be compromised that has site owner privileges in the SharePoint server. So this is not even just like any random employee's account, right? Like you can't have a low privileged account compromised and take advantage of this.
Okay, yeah, that aligns with what Satnam had said. He said it's very serious, but it's less likely to be exploited than some of the other things going on right now. So in terms of priority, would you keep it above the line, but maybe not the first thing that you get done.
Yeah, right. So this is important to close. Of course, it's a critical vulnerability with serious consequences. Um, but as long as you have fairly good hygiene in terms of keeping your user account secure, it's not a drop everything and go reboot your servers right now to apply this patch kind of thing.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Joe. So next up, I think we have vulnerabilities of the month. And I think we're starting with Basta. Is that right?
That is correct. So
Hmm.
this story just came out, I don't know, a week or two ago, and it was really interesting to me because, um, this group has one trick. They only do this one trick, and it's apparently been very successful over a pretty long period of time. So over the last year, they've had 500 known successful breaches with this dumb little thing they're doing. So it works like this. So they bury a single user in spam emails. They'll pull off of say LinkedIn or anywhere else they might harvest your employees' email addresses, and they will just sign them up for literally every spam email email thing they can think of. They will send email from their own servers, and they will just wreck this person's life. And then
Okay.
they'll contact them and say, hey, we have a solution. We can fix your spam problem. And it turns out this has been just very effective. It's not even this isn't the Nigerian
Wait.
prince.
They don't just contact them. I mean, they impersonate the IT from that person's company, right? So
Yeah,
if they attacked me, they would come back and say, "Oh, hey, I'm with, Big Fix IT. I can fix this problem." Is
yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll pose
Oh,
as
no.
IT. They'll pose as support personnel, and then they'll ask you to say, "Hey, can you launch Quick Assist and accept my connection?" And then they go ahead and install malware packages like OSA Kakbot, or they'll use the our previous CVE that allows local code privilege elevation up to system, and then do whatever they want. Right? They'll just make things bad for everyone, and then usually they'll end up with rights on your network and then pivot into other applications from this user account that they went and compromised.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is create a fake problem and then come back and solve it. Where have we seen that before?
Ridiculously effective. What just
Yeah.
It is silly how effective this is.
All right, well, folks, you've
So
been warned.
yeah. So, and one of the main takeaways here is that for one, Windows Quick Assist is a terrible attack vector. This should be disabled everywhere. So if you are not sure if Windows Quick Assist is disabled in your environment, probably take a look at it. You can effectively disable it with firewall rules or app blocker, or many other ways you can stop it from being launched. And also to make sure that you have good communication with your help desk. Um, if your users know exactly what a help desk request looks like, what a legitimate one looks like from your company, what tools they use, it'll make it a lot less likely that they fall for something like this.
Okay, great. This is really good advice, Joe. Thank you. So next up, we've got tunnel vision, and this one looks really serious.
Yeah, this one's kind of seismic. It's a little bit world shaking. It's kind of one of those makes me doubt my existence kind of vulnerabilities. Um, it's very much a like security is an illusion is kind of what this makes me feel like. So this is a vulnerability in the underlying IP tables routing technology. It's not even specifically a VPN vulnerability, which is why anything that is a VPN is effectively affected by this. Um, it allows an attacker who has set up a DHCP server on whatever local network that your endpoint is on, so not your VPN network, right? This doesn't require an attacker to breach your VPN and set up something inside your boundaries. This would have to be exploited, say, on like a coffee shop's Wi-Fi. That would probably be a prime target, or say a hotel that doesn't have like a really strong IT department. So an attacker sets up a DHCP server, a malicious one. They do have to overwhelm the existing DHCP server on the network. So that would be like they would have to launch a denial of service attack against just the local router is basically all that is, right? It's not a DHCP server is
Okay.
not a complicated piece of equipment. And generally stuff in these kind of environments are not very robust. They're not difficult to take down. They're not difficult to overwhelm.
We saw
Uh,
last month just how easy it is to
yeah,
perform a denial of service attack right now, too. So
we
catch
did.
last month if you want to know. But it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that this is in place, we've got a DHCP server that your client is talking to, and that you don't know that it's a malicious server. It sets up a side channel in the IP tables of the endpoint using the DHCP 121 event, and that allows them to redirect your VPN traffic that you believe is secure. Like I always believe that my traffic is secure when I'm connected to my company's VPN.
Right.
Uh, and it allows them to effectively mirror it out in clear text to wherever they want it to go. And you can't see it. The VPN service can't see it at all because it's way down on the network layer on the local client.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
I have a trip next week. I'm taking my hotspot.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So personally, like I'm not going to be connecting until
No.
strategies have really percolated throughout throughout the world here to mitigate this. I'm definitely connecting to the internet through my phone. Like I will not be connecting to a Wi-Fi
Yeah.
hotspot that I do not control.
Yeah. Okay. I think after this we have Big Shocker, day ending in Y, a Chrome 0 day, and we talked about this before we recorded it. It's so easy to pick on Chrome, but it is the absolute number one, by far, most popular connection for the world to access the internet. I mean, so it's constantly just receiving an onslaught of attacks.
Yeah,
And
when
here
you're
we are
on
with
top,
another 0 day.
yeah, when you're on top, it's easy to get too much bad attention for sure like
Yeah.
this. So the couple of 0 days that have come out in the last week are, I mean, they're actively exploited. There's web pages that have been crafted that your users can be redirected to and will, will be vulnerable to these exploits. Um, these ones are pretty bad. The one from just a few days ago is a browser sandbox escape along with some one-click code execution. So it bypasses security features that you would expect to have to like say confirm, have a second box before it starts to
Oh,
run something on
yeah.
your local box. Um, the sandbox escape in particular is pretty nasty. That means it can't just do stuff in the browser, like which is bad enough, right? Like that allows it access to, say, your passwords inside Chrome. Like that's not good. You don't want that. But this does allow access to your laptop, right? So running code execution on the OS rather than just in the browser.
Okay.
So
And I see.
vulnerability wise,
Sorry. Please finish.
yeah, vulnerability wise, not great. But as we know, Chrome updates kind of automatically. If you don't have it set up to update automatically and you do it manually, you're probably using our content. I would apply that content immediately if you haven't done so already.
Well, here's the rub with that, though. And, as a person who cares about security and compliance, I see that update in my browser, see that little indicator in Chrome. And so I know all I have to do is hit the button. It's going to close and come back up in a few seconds and with all my tabs open. It couldn't be easier. But then I'm doing something and I don't hit the button. And now that's on me on my personal machine. It is. But if my device is being managed like it should be, should there not be a cadence of restarts to make sure that this sort of thing happens? That's something
Yeah,
we recommend.
in general, I'm a huge fan of restart hygiene in enterprise environments. I, I like the cadence of 1 week, forcing your users to
Mhm.
restart at least once a week, make sure their uptime stays low, just for stuff like this, where Chrome specifically, all you got to do is restart it, but it just becomes noise. That restart indicator on the browser just becomes noise in the background that no one really pays attention to.
Yep.
So
Yep.
restarting just the OS in general will resolve, that kind of laziness, and anything else, of course, that might be happening on the system.
Okay. Yeah, I think we started to see thought leaders in our industry doing this over 10 years ago, and it's become more common. And I would just like to see that kind of across the board. So if you haven't configured a hygienic once every 7 days restart, maybe think about doing that. We had a webinar a couple months ago about this, and I will put a link to that in the comments. So next up, we've got, oh, it's a nice month for Linux, not too bad.
Yeah, pretty much
Yeah.
bog standard for a Linux month. There's only this one that's above CVSS 7 score, which is not particularly serious. It is just a privilege escalation vulnerability in the Bluetooth stack. So really, it only will affect, like user laptops effectively, probably desktops too. I doubt this will have any sort of effect in the server space, and it does require pretty high privileges to exploit. So it's not even, some low local code execution. Like you need fairly serious privileges, but then of course you can escalate up to root if it is exploited.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joe. And next up is CISA KEV. So I'll take this one. Um, we bring this up every month. I think most of our customers are familiar with the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. They publish a very popular list called the Known Exploited Vulnerabilities list. And these are all vulnerabilities that have been exploited. And the idea is that if you at least close these vulnerabilities, you're doing better, certainly better than if you were just randomly patching. So this is a good priority list to start with. And briefly, CISA KEV is not the only thing that CISA does. They have also a whole bunch of other programs for American businesses to help them become more secure. So it's something you'd want to look into. There's a regional leader for each of the different parts of the United States that you can contact and make an appointment, and they'll basically come and help you with an assessment and guidance. But back to this slide, Joe, this looks like a big list of additions for 1 month.
Yeah, it's a little more than usual. A lot of it
Yeah.
are uh, like multiple things that have happened. Mostly, I think we are seeing more just because for some reason we had few Microsoft Zero Days in the last 3 or 4 months, and so that's kind of shrunk this list down. You'll note that both of the uh, Microsoft Zero Days that we talked about earlier are in this list. This, of course, covers all of the major products, but one thing that I find very useful here is the smaller products that are not maybe like
Mm.
really globally installed everywhere, not super popular. You may notice Crush FTP up there, which is not like it's not a huge FTP uh, application, but it's out there. And if it's in your environment, it's really nice to have this list to tell you that your very small, very rarely used application has a serious vulnerability that is being exploited today, and to go take care of it. So it's good to glance through the list, especially for those smaller products.
I see at the end of the list, Joe, something about D-Link. And
Yeah, yeah, this one caught my eye. I really wanted to pick on it because I mean these aren't um, like enterprise level routers, as
no,
you can
they're
see.
not. No.
Uh, they are absolutely legacy devices. That's super old. They're like one of them's I think 6 years old. The other's 8 years old. They are
Okay.
completely out of support. However, D-Link does not update these things. They are routers, so they're internet facing, and they are completely owned. If this thing is on a network facing the internet, not behind a NAT or anything like that on grandpa's home network, then anybody can come by and just take them over and do whatever they want with them. Uh,
I'm pretty sure the one at the bottom that looks like TV rabbit ears is the one they have at the place I get my nails done. So, maybe I won't use the Wi-Fi there.
Absolutely
Seriously
not.
though, I could see how this happens. I mean, these are people that who would still have these are not security focused, and it's not like there's a screen on it saying that it's out of date and needs to be replaced. So, what should people like us do? What should our customers do? I mean, they don't have these in their business, most likely. But what you're saying, people in their family might have them, or the small businesses in their community might have them.
Yeah, it's just a good reminder that I know I personally think of my network hardware in my home as like not something I need to maintain that often because it's plenty fast and how many more gigabits do I need really? Um, but
All of
as they
them.
age, yeah, of course, like hundreds of gigabits, please. Um, but as they age out, it is important to update these things and make sure that they are not out of support like this. And if you happen to see any of these through your neighbor's windows, maybe make an early Christmas present of a new router to them.
Okay, I think that's good advice. Let's end this on a positive note. Yes, I'm happy to see this. And we
Yeah.
had a
So
release last month. Was it last month? I think we did. And so now we've got an update.
yeah. So BigFix 10.0.12 just came out a few days ago. It is mostly security updates. I mentioned earlier in the presentation here that we had a just ODBC explosion last
Yeah.
month, just tons and tons and tons of vulnerabilities there. And as a result of that, we've updated our ODBC drivers inside the product. So, we've closed all of those in BigFix land, as well as some vulnerabilities in the libcurl archive, which is our, main communication avenue from client to server and elsewhere. So, all those things have been updated. Just a much more secure platform. One other thing that I kind of wanted to call out because it personally made me kind of happy is that there was a console performance update. So when you
Yeah.
have many properties set up in the console, it just performs better now. It got like pretty bad, right? As you added maybe 50, 60 properties in there, the
Yes.
performance would really nosedive. It would be an exponential dive and just get slower and slower and slower very quickly. And now we fixed that. So I'm very encouraged to see investment in the console. Makes me happy.
Okay. So the action here for customers who are still on BigFix 10 is we really would like you to update. If not for the console performance, please update for the security because yeah, there were a number of ODBC vulnerabilities last month, and we want you to be more secure. So please take the time to perform this update. And I think that's all we have for today. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Feel free to share with your buddies. And we've been happy to have you here. From me and Joe, take it easy. We'll see you next month.
Bye, everyone.